Okay, I'm going to do a little demonstration of how this comes to be. So I'm just going to work on this little one right here. So this is just a basic layer, 2 layers probably, maybe 3. And now I'm going to go over the same size brush and add another layer. I'm still going to let some of the other colors prior come through, and now I would probably be doing 2 or 3 layers of this, but then I'm going to come in too dark with just another layer, a little darker. And the reason I'm going darker on this little split here is because the seaweed is twisting, and when it twists like that, it cuts off the light, so it leaves a little shadow. This is kind of just a basic I don't even know what you call them, gas-filled chambers that actually keep the seaweed floating up. And seaweed grows about 2.5 feet every day. It's one of the largest growing plants. Now I'm going in with a finer brush, and because seaweed is not flat, it has ripples and bumps. So I'm just enhancing what's happening here, and I'm just going to fade it out to the middle. And I'm going to do another one here. And this is just one little spot of one little piece of seaweed. Of course, obviously the ones that are bigger take much more time. And of course, I can't help not being the teacher, so I just want to show how things get done. Now, I'm going to do a little harder edge and make it irregular on the edge here and on this side. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, seaweed has a little bit of a greenish tint, so we'll probably just barely give it a little wash on, and keep it light, and just so that's a hint. I don't want to erase the lines that I just did. And I'll let that sit for a little bit. Now I would let it sit for a little bit longer, but I don't want to just waste time in a demonstration. Now I want to give it more depth. Now the way I'm going to do that, I have just a damp brush, and I'm going to look for little areas and bring out some highlights. That will give it a 3-dimensional quality, and it'll just naturally blend And this should be somewhat dry, but I'll just kind of start to pull out the highlight. And I'll go back over on this, which I'm not. but several times, back and forth, trying to follow the light source, and give it a core shadow, highlight. Can't do a reflect light because it just doesn't make sense. And see, it's too wet right now, but I would just try to give it a little bit of shadow and blend that out. And look for little areas now that may need my attention. Whoops. Now, Seaweed also has this little teeny spikes or fibers that come out from the edge. And I'm using kind of a small brush and just using the tips. Now I'm going to move this down and this up, just so you know how this works. Now this is called the hold fast. Now they are just a combination of different little almost roots that attach themselves to a rock or some place that they could hold. And now this is where I would come in and pull out color, add color. I would look for little spots like right here in the corner, which should be a little bit lighter. And then I would come in with a little darker color. It's all about layers. So this is underneath, so I would probably come underneath here. I would just give it a little bit of an edge. Now I know it'd probably be shadowed in here somewhere, and a little bit of shadow over here. Now this is kind of a light ochre, and then I'm going to come in with another little darker one. So then I would come in here and slowly build it up. And blend. I also call this the madness of detail. Now what happens normally is I get it to this point and I get it to a point where I like it, and then I proceed to do other ones, and when it's kind of got to a stopping point, then I look at it again and see if I can find a little area that needs my attention. And you can see the highlights and shadows. There is a little coarse highlight, reflection light, but that's just hard to break. Anyway, so I'm going to stop right there.